On a 2 styrod inarar, Zimbabwe.
The midday sun beats down, and in the distance, a sleek, unfamiliar car hums forward, not roaring, not whining, just gliding. A narrator's voice cuts in, steady and compelling. In a world where the laws of physics dictate that no machine can run forever without fuel, one man dares to challenge it all. His name is Maxwell Chikumbutso, an inventor from Zimbabwe. And today, his self-powered electric vehicle, an EV that claims to run without charging, without fuel, without limits, has found its way into our hands. For weeks, we tested it. We probed every circuit, drove every mile, and questioned every claim. And what we found was nothing short of shocking. The camera shifts to a group of engineers unloading equipment. Their voices overlap as they inspect the car, sleek, metallic, futuristic, yet simple. Okay guys, this looks just like any other EV. Where's the catch? One engineer says, leaning close to the hood. Under the hood, supposedly. This thing is supposed to generate its own power. No external charging.
No gasoline.
Nothing, another replies, half skeptical, half curious. When Maxwell first introduced his idea, the world dismissed him. A man from Africa, claiming to have solved one of humanity's greatest engineering puzzles, perpetual energy for transportation. Scientists called it impossible, critics called it a hoax, and the media barely paid attention. But we couldn't ignore it. Because if even a fraction of his claim was true, this invention would change everything: transportation, energy, even the balance of global power. Cut to archival footage, grainy videos of Maxwell speaking to a small crowd, his voice passionate. We've been told energy cannot be created, only transformed. But what if we have been looking at energy the wrong way? What if the world has overlooked the possibilities hidden in plain sight? Those words sparked skepticism, laughter, and a quiet but growing curiosity. And so we brought his car into our world, a lab filled with skeptics, scientists, mechanics, and dreamers. We wanted answers. What we got were 7 discoveries we still struggle to fully explain. The scene transitions to a workshop filled with cameras, multimeters, and laptops.
Engineer swarm the vehicle, recording every measurement.
All right.
First check the battery pack.
Let's see what's inside.
The hood click open.
Inside, instead of a bulky lithium-ion battery array, the engineers find something unfamiliar. Small metallic boxes, connected with intricate wiring, humming faintly. This doesn't look like any EV battery I've ever seen, an engineer mutters, eyes wide.
No standard lithium pack.
It's lighter, more compact. But look at the output. Screens light up with readings, steady, powerful current flowing, no external input. Our test began simple. We expected a trick. Maybe hidden batteries, maybe solar cells disguised inside. But within hours, it became clear, something different was at work here.
Something inconventionnel.
Before we reveal the shocking discoveries, let's rewind. Who exactly is Maxwell Chikumbutso? And how did a self-taught inventor from Harare get this far? A reenactment plays, a young boy tinkering with broken radios and scraps of wire in a small workshop. His hands are stained with oil and solder, his eyes locked on the spark of possibility in front of him. Maxwell's journey didn't begin in a university lab, but in a modest neighborhood, repairing radios and building crude machines out of discarded parts. With no formal engineering degree, he was driven by curiosity, faith, and persistence. By the mid-2000s, he had built prototypes of drones, broadcasting transmitters, even a helicopter. Few believed him. Fewer supported him. But every invention carried one common thread: they worked without the usual sources of power. Maxwell appears in an interview, sitting calmly, speaking directly to the camera. I never set out to prove anyone wrong. I set out to solve problems. People said Africa doesn't have the resources, doesn't have the knowledge, doesn't have the chance. But maybe that's why we try harder. Because we have no choice. Years later, his biggest claim arrived: a self-charging electric vehicle. At first, the world ignored it. Then, as whispers spread, curiosity grew.
Could it be true?
Could Africa hold the key to an energy revolution the world had overlooked?
The screen cut back to the lab.
Engineers prepare to drive the car. Let's stop staring at it and put it on the road. If this thing really runs without charging, we'll know soon enough.
The car doors shut.
The ignition hums. Not like gasoline, not quite like a Tesla. Quieter.
Stranger.
The car glides forward effortlessly. What happened next would mark the beginning of 7 shocking discoveries that left us questioning everything we thought we knew about energy, engineering, and the limits of human innovation. The camera pans across the open road as the car accelerates, smooth and
Un relenting.
hours pass. The car doesn't stop.
The engineer watch, waiting for the inevitable shutdown. It never comes.
One of them whispers under his breath, almost afraid of being heard, "Guys, this isn't draining. At all." And that was just the beginning. The road stretched endlessly under the African sun, the car moving as though it had a life of its own. For the first 2 hours, the engineers kept glancing at the dashboard, at the screens connected to the power system, at each other. They expected the numbers to dip, the battery percentage to creep downward, the inevitable reminder that no machine could outrun the laws of physics. Yet, the numbers did not move. The readings stayed locked, unwavering, as if frozen in time. "This can't be right," one of them muttered, checking the monitor again. "We've driven almost 100 kilometers and the energy output is stable. No drop. Not even 1%. Another engineer shook his head. "Either the sensors are broken, or this thing is running on something we don't understand." The narrator's voice returned, low and steady. "This was our first shocking discovery. The self-powered EV was not losing energy as it ran. Every electric car in the world consumes energy, depletes its battery, and demands recharging. But Maxwell's car defied the pattern. 4 hours, then days, it held steady, delivering power without loss. We expected at least some sign of decline. Instead, it was as though the car was producing its own fuel as it moved." The engineers pulled over, unable to ignore it any longer. The hood opened again. They hooked up more equipment, measuring current, voltage, even electromagnetic fields. One of them stared at the readings and then looked up, bewildered. "This car is generating power as it drives. The harder it works, the more stable the output. It's not draining. It's replenishing." A silence fell over the group. The only sound was the faint hum of the system inside the vehicle, a resonance unlike any lithium-ion battery pack they had ever tested. Someone whispered what they were all thinking but dared not say too loudly. "If this is real, this breaks the rules."
It breaks everything we know.
The narrator continued. "Skeptics would argue hidden batteries, or solar panels disguised beneath the paint. We thought the same. But the car had no room for such tricks. Every inch was accounted for. The weight of the car matched its declared specs. We scanned the panels, checked for hidden wiring, even stripped sections of the body. Nothing. The car was stripped down further, cables traced by hand, panels removed one by one.
Still nothing.
Yet when they turned it back on, it roared quietly to life again, steady as before." The narrator's voice deepened. "And then came our second discovery. The car was not just holding its energy, it was producing more than it needed.
Surplus énergie.
Energy that could be tapped, redirected, even shared." The engineers gathered in the lab, faces lit by the glow of screens. "Look at this," one said, pointing to a meter. "The car's systems are generating excess power beyond what the motors consume. We could literally plug external devices into this and power them without draining the vehicle." Another engineer laughed nervously.
C'était impossible.
A car as a generator? And not just a generator, but one that never runs out. He paused, shaking his head in disbelief. "If this is real, this isn't just a car. It's a power plant on wheels." The narrator's voice cut in. "And that's exactly what we tested. With cables linked directly to the car's power system, we ran lights, tools, even computers. All functioned seamlessly, drawing current from the vehicle without affecting its drive. The car drove as though nothing had been connected, as though infinite power lay quietly at its core." The group stood around the glowing bulbs powered by the car, their shadows long and twisted on the lab walls. One of them broke the silence, voice shaking. "Do you understand what this means? This isn't just about cars. This is about energy itself. Homes, factories, entire cities could run like this. No grid, no fuel, no pollution." The narrator paused, letting the weight of the moment sink in. It was hard to accept.
Art de tout believe.
Yet the evidence stared us in the face. For the first time in history, we were witnessing a vehicle not just surviving without external charging, but producing more energy than it consumed. The implications were staggering, but it also raised darker questions. Where was this energy coming from? Was it truly sustainable? And if so, why was the world not talking about it? The camera lingered on Maxwell himself, standing quietly as the engineers debated, his expression calm, almost serene. Someone asked him directly, "Maxwell, how is this possible?"
What is inside this machine?
He only smiled faintly, replying with a softness that made the room fall silent. Not everything has to be explained to be real. Sometimes, what matters is what it can do for people. What matters is that it works. The narrator's voice returned, quiet but heavy. The first discovery: the car does not lose energy as it drives. The second discovery: the car produces surplus energy that can be used externally. Both were unbelievable. Both were undeniable. And both left us with the same haunting thought: if this invention is real, why is it not shaking the world?
The screen fade to black, the hum of the car echoing like a heartbeat, steady and eternal.